Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting the historic Brooklyn townhouse of Latham Thomas, founder of the celebrity favorite doula and maternity lifestyle brand, Mama Glow. Latham designed her 4-story home to feel bright and welcoming, with plants dispersed throughout, a colorful kitchen and wallpapered bathrooms, plus vintage pieces adorning the brick walls. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. To shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy episodes, be sure to check out the product links below for amazing furniture, accessories, and more.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Latham Thomas, founder of Mama Glow, and welcome to my home in Brooklyn. As you can see, we are in the living room and entryway of my home. I love old buildings like this. This building is like 200 years old and has the shape of our classic townhouses and brownstones that you would find in New York. And it's got really high ceilings. We have the exposed brick wall, which I love. This is one of the favorite features that like really sold me, was having brick and then also fireplaces. They don't work, but it's like nice for decoration. And so what we've done is I took this beautiful tapestry that came from Uganda and then set it inside of this frame so that you could also still see the exposed brick. And I love found objects. I love plants. And so we always have plant life in and around the house. I got these amazing seagrass baskets from all over. Some are from West Africa, some are from Tibet. And to just really soften some of the brick and create some more texture to have against the wall, because it's not as typical to have paintings and things against brick. And also in softening the space, I thought through rattans. And so we have these vintage rattan chairs that are like sloped and really comfortable with some sheepskins, and this rug from Morocco that we had cut custom for this space. And one of the things we built the space around was this couch. I love this color. I'm so into rose gold. And so I wanted to find a really comfortable and round couch that could kind of be soft inside the space, because it's kind of narrow and really needs delicate furnishings. And so we found this and we built everything else around it. We got this waterfall coffee table, which for me was also a really beautiful feature to bring into the space. Also, plants, right? And so we have these beautiful Hoyas that are like reaching and towards each other. That's really typical of like any space that I'm in, to always have plant life. I'm a Taurus. We love to bring the outdoors indoors. I got these light fixtures from a place in upstate New York, and I wanted to create, like, again, roundness, softness inside the space, and not necessarily use crystal, but bring in these elements that felt also very grounding. And so I chose matching chandeliers that you'll see mirrored across the space. And then also here we have some sculpture and, you know, just like really bringing in like the art books. My son's father and grandfather are artists, but his grandfather was an art dealer. So we always were surrounded by a lot of artwork and books and things. And so we have these, like everywhere there's stacks of books. And so there's not a shortage of things to read in this house. But one of my favorite things, and there's a couple sculptures that I love, but this one is from 1890. And it's a West African Yoruba sculpture. And it's actually sculpted from one piece of wood. And it's a mother and a baby. And so it's a fetish sculpture, but I love this. It really signifies the work that I do in maternal health and is like a reminder of that. And I just love how beautiful this piece is and the patina that it has, because it's worn from obviously a couple hundred years. We also have this really beautiful, but also sort of like washed away screen print from Andy Warhol that was signed to my son's father. That's really beautiful. One of the things about it is that you can't see now, but it's floral. Back in the day, it would have been in color, and it got exposed to the light. And so all of that color that was normally on this image is no longer there, but we still really love it because of what it represents, and obviously the graphite and the texture that's here also softening for the space as we think about the plant life that I have surrounding in the rest of the home. We do have fireplaces on every floor. This is obviously one that you see first thing when you come in. There's one also on the other side, but it's covered. This one is really beautiful. It doesn't function. And it's typical of these apartments from, back in the day where there were functioning fireplaces that were fueled by the cellar, where there would actually be coal delivered. And so outside, what you'll find out front is there's like a little ledge area that would send you down into the cellar area where coal would be fed into the house, and then that would be used to fuel the house. And so we still have that coal door that is available, but no, these don't function. It's kind of cool. There are some in New York that still do function, which is kind of nice, but I think it's probably best this way so the house doesn't stay smoky, but quite beautiful, really just for ornamentation, right? You can use mantles and fireplaces as a way to really like bring in decor and help tie a room together or build a room around a fireplace. And so that's kind of what we did here. So let's come this way. So here you'll find our sort of dining area. And so there's a separation with just this buffet and then an open space here. So it allows for us to expand the table. I really love this table. It's vintage whalebone. And so what you'll find is you can bring up this side and extend, but also you'll see the legs have this beautiful shape, and it's called a whalebone shape. And so if you look to see how beautiful this is, right? The craftsmanship of these tables, it was so hard for me to find this table. I didn't even know I was looking for this, but then when I found it, I knew this was my dining table. And so we love this table. Often we'll have cloth over the table, like for dining and things like that, but I really wanted to expose so you all could see just the craftsmanship of the wood and also this kind of style that's not common, right? But again, like mid-century modern is a little bit of a theme that we keep throughout the house in terms of some of the furnishing choices. Certainly like with the lamps and things, you'll see that too. Over here, we have some shelves that are floating. I wanted to keep in the natural feeling of the brick. And so we have these floating shelves here. Another few sculptures. This I really love, which comes from Tibet, and it's actually an ox drum. And so this is what it's like hollowed on the inside. And so this is a water ox, right? And made into a drum. This is also hundreds of years old. And so I'm so grateful to be able to have like these really beautiful pieces to help ground the home, and that I can just like look at and I'm reminded of just the beauty of art that like is in and around us. I love also this Bruce High Quality piece, which is an art collective. And so I have that here. And so here I have a little corner for like my ancestors, specifically my grandmother who passed. I have like one of her rosaries here. I have some honey for her. I have some Caribbean rum for her. This is just water that I typically place to like draw energy down in the home, and I mix with it Florida water or agua de Florida here. And then I have just a white candle lit for her. And typically I'll put things like cinnamon, candies. She loves See's candies, so I have to go like get her some See's candies and replace that here. But I'll keep crystals here. I'll keep cleansing plants like Palo Santo here. And then typically I'll just like change this and put different things down for her like weekly. So now is like the time that I would probably put down some flowers for her, fresh, and then also bring any candies and things into the space. And when we think about like, you know, ancestral veneration, for me, it's like having a space that's like dedicated, you know, for loved ones or people who have passed on is sort of how I navigate my home space always. I used to have little altars all over the house Now I just have a few, but this is like one of the focal points that we have in the living room. And it's also sort of anchored by this beautiful cowrie cowrie shell collar. And these are some of the seashells that come from West Africa that are made into this beautiful bib that's like a sculpture. So we have it here anchored on this bench. And then this bench is really amazing too. It comes from Tibet. And so I have this kind of like almost like as an anchoring space. And then I have this broom, which is a black broom that signifies a time also in during slavery when the enslaved were to get married. They would consecrate the marriage by stepping over a broom or jumping the broom that they called it. So they would jump over the broom. And so I use this broom almost like a little threshold to like, you know, cordon off this area. I don't actually use it to sweep anything up, but I thought it was such a beautiful broom to bring into the home for this purpose. So yeah, that's what this space is all about. And then I have other things that like found objects and crystals and things that I love from other parts of the world that kind of like also flank the space. Here we have, again, the seating for when we're dining. And to soften these seats, which here, as you can see, this like nice straw that they use to weave to make the seats. And then I just put the sheepskins, right, to make it more comfortable for people. And so that's how we sit at this table. And again, it extends. So we have sometimes 8 people sitting with us for dinner. This is where we would sit together. I love also this kind of credenza or bureau that I found actually in Greenpoint at this amazing store that no longer exists, unfortunately. But it was an amazing kind of like vintage, secondhand, and like furniture shop. And they would get things from like upstate and all over. And they had this, and I just love the finish of the doors. It's this woven rattan. And then just like the details here, it has like these leather pulleys to like open. So it's just like so beautiful. And so we use this really to store kind of like pantry items and stuff like that, because as you know, in New York, it's really hard to find, you know, cabinets and extra space and closets. And unfortunately, even as big as this house is, there's no closets. There's no closets. So we have to use bureaus and things like this to get creative, to create closet space for ourselves and storage. And so this is one way that we store. Also here, again, like bringing a print into the space. This print came from a collective that I love called Block Shop, which is out of San Francisco, out of California. And they make a lot of linens and really beautiful like robes, even blankets, also great rugs. And so they made this print and I just love it so much. And so I have it here. I have a couple other prints of theirs as well. And this is one of our fig trees that's been here. It's kind of taken a life of its own, going wherever it wants to go. But this is the best position for it. It's facing east and it gets really great light. And I used to have it in a different place in the home and it didn't love it. And then when I moved it here, it was like, this is where it wants to be. So it's here. Oftentimes it's like hanging on to us while we're eating. So I've actually anchored it so that it could really be secure here and like be in its home place. But as you can see, it's blocking this artwork that is on the wall, which is a Richard Hambleton piece that I love very much. A couple other things that I love, there is, you know, obviously integrating plants constantly, but there's this really cool Japanese place that makes these moss ball plants, and I just have them everywhere. And I bring these into like different rooms in the house because I feel like, you know, we can ground this space always with greenery, and it's something that makes me feel alive and also just helps me to bring the outdoors indoors, especially like when it's the winter. In New York, as you know, it gets really cold here and it's hard to kind of keep your I don't know, your mood up if you, and have a levity in your mood when a space is really dark. And so even when we're going through the darker months, I always have a lot of plant life to make it feel like we're someplace that's like warmer. Yeah, so one of the things that I just really love about, you know, having a home of this size in New York is that like it's really a prime space for entertainment. I grew up in a home where things were really, like my mom was really strict about how she kept the house. And so it wasn't as welcoming for me to have friends over. And when my son is here, my son's now 21, he's in college. When he has friends over, I love cooking for them. When my friends come and people come in from out of town, I love just like making space for them to feel at home. And I love a house that's well lived in, you know, that feels like it's a space for people to really inhabit. And especially when you're coming in from like a long day, it's been busy and you just been moving, you know, about and hustling, it's nice to come back and like ground yourself in a space that you feel like is welcoming. And so I love for my home to feel that way. I love for people to feel like they're welcome to come hang out here. And certainly it's fun for me to like cook and things like that and prepare meals for folks. So it's kind of something that I'm really into. And a home like this was sort of a dream for me to be able to, you know, make space for those types of experiences that are really just like about, you know, like building memories, creating memories with people that you love. And so this is like a really cool piece that I love that my father gave me by Elizabeth Catlett. She has a show coming up at the Brooklyn Museum, actually. So I love this. And then obviously coming into the kitchen, there's always some fruit for people. I love keeping fruits that are like seasonal, but also like things that remind me of being home. I'm from California. We have very forgiving soil. Everything grows in Cali. So I'm so used to having a lot of fruits and vegetables, especially like fresh fruit that's growing in the season. So we have peaches, we have nectarines, but then I also have tropical fruits always on deck so that we could have breakfast, but also if I want to make any cocktails, we can make some nice ones here too. And this is sitting atop a vintage bureau that I also really love that came from my son's grandfather. It was a beautiful piece that I love for storage. Again, I was talking about how it's really hard to find storage here. And in New York City, creating ways by going to like some of the vintage like flea markets and things like that, you can find really great little accent pieces that can just bring your home to life by just having a little bit of patience as you move in and settle. It took me a couple of years to actually get the house to a space where I felt like we were settled. And that's because every house requires something different. Like even if you're bringing furniture from another place, it doesn't mean that it fits in the home that you're in, right? Or that the things that you have already will work. And so sometimes it's about finding the right place for things and figuring out the home for every little item or every little piece of furniture or, you know, whatever it is that brings accent to your space. And so, so I love things like this to bring some life into the home, but also again, in New York City, storage is so key. So coming into the kitchen, one of the things about the kitchen that I will say is when we got here, when I saw this house, I'm so into cooking. The very first thing I noticed was that this doorway was about this big. So imagine the doorway was here and just this sliver. And then it went all the way up to the ceiling. There was like a little bit of a break. What I did was opened it all the way up with this archway and then created some width here so that you could feel connected to the dining room space, but also not feel so isolated and also boxed in. So it opened the space all the way up, and then you can come on in and you have a typical galley kitchen that you would find in a townhouse like in New York. And so this kitchen is small, but it actually has a lot of functionality. I decided to build upward with the shelving to create some storage because again, we didn't have very good storage options in this kitchen. We have a step stool. So I typically open that up if I have to go up high to reach anything. For the refrigerator, this is our fridge and our freezer. And so it's kind of like, this is how it's set up. But one of the things that I did right away was when we were color blocking, figuring out the colors for everything, then also I got these really cool handles off of Etsy that are just like wooden, because the tops, in the kitchen are also just like a solid wood. This is pine, right? So I just got like the same thing across. And then I also found these really cool leather handles on Etsy. And so we installed those too onto the cabinetry. Here's our dishwasher. And so just, bringing the colors in, we have this amazing, like really large sink, which is great for dishes if I ever wash them, but I use the dishwasher. So, but this is great for me when I get like the fruits and vegetables, when I'm cleaning them. This gives me a lot of space to be able to do that. And also some of the plants, I just sink in here, I dunk them and then let them sort of bathe, weekly when I don't want to just go around and pour water into the plants. I'll just throw them in the sink and give them a bath here. And so another thing for me that was important, like reaching some of our glassware very easily, but then also being able to reach like herbs and things with ease. And then this little cabinet was inspired by those microwave cabinets that they have in apartments. I lived in a little apartment before and they had a microwave thing that would be right here. And I had it removed so that I could create space. And I just put all like my little favorite stuff, like this is like my favorite olive oil from Morocco. And so all the things that I love, that I reach for pretty frequently, I have here. So when we built this cabinetry, we created that same space, that same little microwave hutch, if that makes sense. So we have this little cool tucked away hood, right? So that, again, everything's like really streamlined and seamless and stuff in the space, and to kind of still create this feeling of kind of like, I wanted it to feel like the Caribbean. I wanted to feel like California. I wanted to feel kind of like a vibe, when you came in here, that you feel just excited to be in the space, excited to cook or eat, and just make it fun. To me, I feel like, you should go, wild with color, right? You should express yourself with color. I know a lot of people are afraid to like use anything beyond like eggshell. The colors, I feel like also imbue an energy in your space, but also can help evoke an energy, right? And so when you come in here, you're like, oh, I feel awakened, or I feel excited, or I feel alive. And so that's what I wanted people to feel, but I also want to walk in the kitchen and feel that myself. So now let's check out our little powder room. So this is one of my favorite little rooms because it's like a slice of paradise, little California, little Florida in one room. But yeah, we just wallpapered this. It's a nice textured wallpaper that we brought into the space. And I love this amazing lamp, which is really like a giant light bulb. And then again, creating still that theme of softness with this mirror that we have in here. So it's very playful of a space, and also because of the orange and the yellows, it's kind of like a soft color when people come in here. Again, I'm hoping that they feel good when they're in this space. And it's also like a little bit of a surprise when they come to use the restroom. So now we'll take our little trip upstairs. Watch your step as you follow me. One of the things about the steps I wanted to also point out is, like, if you have stairs in your home, one thing to think about is how you can personalize them. Even if you're renting and you don't want to invest a lot, but you want to make sure that you can bring some personality into your space. If there are stairs, what I found is on the instep, if you could see here, I got wallpaper, terrazzo wallpaper, and we cut for each of the step inlays so you could see all the way down. There's this beautiful like pattern and color and texture that comes through that also brings some personality. And you could, do it for each staircase or just one. I thought for here, it's such a nice, like beautiful way to kind of like find your way going up the stairs into the rest of the home. So this is one of my favorite areas of the home, again, because who doesn't love a great bath? So here is our guest bathroom. It's really my son's bathroom, but any guest that's staying in the house also uses this bathroom. And what I did here was a couple of things. So again, the stripes are a theme, the textures are a theme that you'll see in the house, but this kind of like palm that we got for the backdrop here also continues on this side of the bathroom as well. And so you have the clawfoot tub, which is kind of like a common, old New York bathtub. And so one of my favorite things about this room is, you just feel like you're in a little bit of a jungle, And it gets a lot of light, so it's really great for a lot of the plants. And again, I put the plants here in the tub. So then, we can just you know what I mean? Bathe some of these plants. I sometimes do that too. I sometimes bathe some of the plants in here. But it's a really great bathtub. It's a nice experience, after a long day, to be able to just sit in the tub and hang out. And so I love this bathroom. I think for me, again, the color, just always thinking through the blocking of color, and then also the types of way I can integrate color and pattern together to create just a really interesting but also unexpected experience for people. Allows them to kind of enter a space and be oh, what world am I in, And so I love to create that feeling for people and also for myself every time I come into the space. And one cool thing is these little shelves that are kind of built in here, so you could store things, right? So that's another thing that's really kind of a cool feature, that this was already here. We just built around it and painted and all that. So to have a recessed area for storage, and obviously some plants live there too. Now we're heading upstairs to my room. So welcome to my room. Up here, obviously I sleep, I hang out, I have some things that I love here. This credenza has been with me for a couple of years. It used to be in the living room. I was so excited when I could bring it into my bedroom because we had another credenza downstairs. And so I love the colors, I love the feeling of it. I love the lacquer, and I love that it's pink or salmon. Those are again, my favorite colors are kind of pink, salmons, umbers. That's really sort of my jam. And it's kind of across our brand at Mama Glow too. So these colors are also infused in my room. I have a canopy bed here. And again, bringing color, always into the bedding, which is important to me. I have a little chandelier because I've always wanted to have a chandelier over my bed. And then I have a nice seating area, which is, for when I have guests up here. I don't typically have a lot of people come into my room to hang out, but if they do, this is where we hang. And I love these chairs that we got. These are Moroccan. These are patterns actually that are found on rugs. And so we got these made as chairs. I really love the sort of shape of these chairs too, and as well as the rug. I love this table, which is glass over a tree stump as well. So this kind of anchors the space here. And I have a swinging chair, which is something I always wanted to have when I was a kid, a swing in my bedroom. And so I do have that now, and full of bunnies. What really inspired this, I think, was to feel like I was in a little bit like a fairy tale. The bedroom for me is kind of where you dream and where dreams happen. And so I always wanted a place that felt cozy, I moved a lot around as a child. And so I was always really, I think, craving spaces that I felt anchored in. And so this is one of those where I was I'm just gonna have this, once we moved here, before I even got everything furnished, I had this chair. I had this swinging chair anchored here before even the rest of the room was done. And so I would come here and sit and read my books and stuff in the corner. And I just love this. And so I think it was really just about creating, warmth, creating coziness, and some place that I could feel grounded and also inspired at the same time, so creatively as well. I think that's a big thing for me too, to feel like I could be creative in the space. And so my room is one of those pathways as well, I think. Yeah. And this, you guys, I love, is like my Frida Kahlo pillow. How cute is this? Like, I just love this pillow. I got it at a place that no longer exists. And that's why it's really important when you find things that you like the first time, get them, because you go back and you can't find it anymore. When you're in New York and you're shopping, whether it's a flea market or a secondhand store or wherever it is, if you find something unique that like really speaks to you and you feel like it could really enhance your home, you should get it. And I don't mean it in a way of just like promoting consumerism, but in a way that's really about like, you know, surrounding yourself with things that you love. And you don't need a ton of things, but when you have special things that really sort of like tie a room together or make you feel special, it's important to get those things to like settle into your space so that you can feel delighted when you go inside of your room or whatever that space is that you're decorating. And so for me, I have found things in the past that I was like, oh, I'll come back and get this. And then I went back and the store didn't exist anymore, or they didn't have the thing, or someone bought it. And I always feel like that's kind of a miss, right? When there's something that maybe you really loved, you should always get it. So this is one of those things that I'm glad I got because the store doesn't exist anymore. And to me, it's really beautiful to find these quirky things that like don't really, that you can't really find anywhere. I really love this Buddha that we have, and you can see all this patina, like it's so worn, it's brass, but you can see how dark it is. Like if I were to get it cleaned, it would be very shiny. But I love this, and it's flanked with different seashells and cowrie shells and acai bead seeds. And this is something that I love too, that has always been in my home. I've always found a place for it. So that's in my room too. I always have like things from around the world. Like these are castanets from Spain, and they're vintage castanets that my son got me. I love, collecting like seashells. And so I have a bunch of shells. This is actually a coconut shell, and I collect currency from around the world. So that's here. Along with some other like things that are here. I also have, like coins and little shells and things, just like I always keep like elements of the earth around, right? And so those things are sort of inside the space, always integrated as well. But to me, it's like, I love rocks, I love crystals, I love plants, I love, really interesting kind of tactile things to bring into the home. And so I encourage people to bring the outdoors indoors, find elements of the outdoors that you can bring in to help imbue a space with life, if that makes sense. And so, that's something that I really always do, and also because I think that, a lot of things that we tend to think are waste, in some cases can be like really beautiful, like decorative, or even like the beginning of something decorative, right? It could be something that you use to create an artwork or an art piece, or it could just be anchoring itself. Like, seashells are like really great, like pieces to like anchor in a space, or just like bring in for color or texture, and some feeling of like, again, bringing the outdoors indoors, or bringing the sea inside. These stairs take us to the roof. Here, one of my favorite trees, it's called an autograph plant, and they grow in like the Everglades. And why it's called that is because you can actually write on these leaves and it'll leave the imprint. And so people like would take, people would like write their name, like etch their name on the leaves and stuff, and be like I go out with this person or that person on these leaves and stuff. And so sometimes when you're in Florida, for instance, you'll see this tree with a bunch of people's names engraved inside of the leaves. But yeah, I love this tree. It's been up here for forever. It's, as you can see, taking a lot of space up, and has a life of its own. Here is a little like roof space that for me has been a dream, to just like be able to come outside, be alone when I want to be. And then the rhododendrons that are behind us in the spring become bright pink. Those leaves have fallen now. Like typically like reading a book up here and doing my morning kind of like emails and things, I would come up here before it gets too warm. And at the end of the day, it's awesome to come and just like lay on this bed and hang out. And that's what I would do. Sometimes like we'll entertain up here, but it's like you have to come through my room to get here. So it's really like my private oasis. Like nobody else gets to come up here. My son will come up here often with friends and stuff sometimes and hang out and spend time too. I love the little rug here, which is from Ruggable. It's Justina Blankley. So it's got the, you know, kind of vibe that I like, the color and the textures, and is washable and reusable. So that's great for like New York City where it's just really hard to find a rug that lasts. Like I typically would use like jute and have to like change it for the following year. But this rug is like really wonderful. And then I've got like some really great like outdoor like teak and you know, some cushions and things to make it softer up here. I love these little cushions here, which are for outdoor or indoor. They're so easy. Like if they get wet, they dry, but they're really great cushions just to hang outside with and just kind of like, you know, keeping the space comfy really, you know, is what I'm all about. And just having a space to tuck away, you know, from the inside. And sometimes also too, like you're inside and you're, you know, getting away from the heat. But New York hasn't been super hot this summer. So it's been a nice place to hang out just, you know, because the days have been pretty mild. And so coming up here and when it's not too sunny, it's a really great place to hang out and even during the day. But certainly at night, like when things cool off, this is where I like to come to and retreat and just like have a little, you know, iced tea and relax and, you know, prepare to like wind down for the evening. It's so rare in New York City to find a little extra space for a guest, but I have a little guest nook. And it's a space I created for when folks come to visit so they can feel cozy and feel like they have a home away from home. And you would never guess, but it's right behind here. So we have these little curtains and then you come back into this little space. And what I love about it is the color first, right? Like always thinking about bold color. Don't be afraid. I brought this sort of soft turquoise, sort of sea foamy color into the room, which I found really anchoring. It goes well with the tufted bed, which is also a softer like sea foam. And then these colors that we brought in with the umbers and the yellows and golds, which I also love, are here. We brought in also this beautiful Moroccan rug, which kind of anchors the space. It's pink. It's like, you know, a really beautiful color and texture. I actually have a lot of linens that are this color. And so that's why this rug sort of came to be. And then we have these like fun little side tables and then some artwork that's anchoring the area to kind of create some warmth against the wall. Because this is brick, but it's colored and it's a solid color, it makes like for a good background for artwork to be hung here. Yeah, and so then we have like, you know, another placement over here. This is like a poster from a show that I went to at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. And I loved the show so much that I framed the poster. But yeah, this is the space. And it's just really like when you go to a hotel and they have like a room that's so small, it's just got enough space for your bed and then your things are elsewhere. This feels like that to me. It's like tucked away, it's quaint, but it's also very comfortable. And so I'm grateful to be able to kind of create a space like this for people that visit, but also just, you know, I think that in any room that you have, regardless of like how your space is set up, thinking through how to just make it like cozy as possible is for me a number one priority, but I think it's something that we can think about when we're designing, regardless of how big or small our spaces are.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.